All right, Andrew Easton here with ESUCC back, and this time actually talking with Craig Hicks with ESU 13, as we're going to be able to cover some ground on communication ideas and strategies. Really grateful to Craig for sharing some of his ideas and insights on that topic. And so, Craig, welcome, and feel free to kind of step right into that space, having some conversation around this.
All right, Andrew, thanks. I appreciate it. I know as we got started in some of the remote learning things that happened last spring, some real challenges in terms of schools communicating with parents, communicating with students. Some of it became a bit overwhelming, I think, for not only the teachers sending out information, but parents and students consuming the information. So had some of those conversations last spring, but I think also as we are looking at a variety of environments as we get going in this school year, or actually now approaching halfway
right.
in the school year, some things that we want to still continue to keep in mind. One, consistency is essential. And what I mean by consistency is that from a district, if possible, and I know some of the larger districts, I'm at ESU 13 in Scottsbluff, and some of our districts, I mean, we might have less than 100 kids K-12, but many of our districts are fairly small. So having one platform that you use for communication across the district, or at a minimum at a school building, I think is really, really important. That allows students and parents to become comfortable with a single platform or minimal platforms and being able to make that connection. So consistency, super, super important.
Yeah, I'd round that out too and say I've been in a building where that wasn't the case, where social studies use Blackboard and English use Google Classroom and science use something different. And you're right. When I understand a teacher's advocacy for the thing they're most familiar with and the thing they maybe have loaded everything up to, but while from a parent standpoint, that is super challenging, particularly in a remote setting.
Yeah, giving teachers freedom to make that choice. Not that you don't want to have their voice heard, but we've got to settle on something that's consistent to make it effective and manageable.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other things I think is really important is use what you already have. If you already have something that's in place, use that platform. Again, going back to consistency is most important, but then use the tools that you already have available and you are comfortable with, probably students are comfortable with, parents are comfortable with. It just makes that transition so much easier to use the tools that are already available. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the tools in one of the videos coming up a little bit later. But your learning management system, email, products like Remind are pretty important tools. And if you're already using those and the audiences you have are familiar, that's a great place to start.
Absolutely. Number 3?
Yeah, more is not better. So keep your communications to a minimum, and clarity is huge. So we start talking about clarity in terms of instructional strategies and things that you need to keep in mind there. Take that mindset into your communication with students and parents with, again, whether it's email, whether it's happening in your learning management system or other products. Just because you can send messages and let students know or parents know what's going on, you want to be aware of the fact that you're not their only teacher. And if multiple teachers are sending multiple messages per day from a student and parent standpoint, it's more than you can consume. And you start to get frustrated, and at some point they just give up.
I even see that with communicating directions for assignments. I was sharing with somebody that if your choice board takes longer to read all the options than it does to complete one of the options within it, you're not doing it right. So it does get tough sometimes to how do you streamline that in a concise way. Brevity is the soul of wit, right?
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And the last item that I have that I think is we have to keep in mind, student data privacy. And this is an element that there's some work being done on a statewide level. I'm part of a group that has been having this conversation for a while, but being able to have an element that you're using for communication that has been reviewed by the district and meets your policies at a district level for student data privacy. We don't want to be out there in a tool that we found that's really cool that we can use for free that's sharing more information about our students than we legally can share. I don't want to get in a legal conversation. That's not what this is about, but it is something to keep in mind. So make sure that whatever tools you are using have been cleared at a district level in terms of student data privacy to make sure you're not going to get yourself in trouble.
Absolutely. And I don't know if this quite falls underneath that banner, but Dorian Avey would not forgive me if I didn't bring up the fact that we're not allowed to record Zoom sessions with students in those sessions and share that after the fact. So I'm just going to nod the cap to that piece of information and make sure that's included while we're on this topic. But if you would like to double back to this information, Craig's been grateful in sharing this resource. And so please, it's not slides. That's probably a typo in our little video here, but it is a document. And so please access that for more. Craig, thank you for your time, for sharing on communication ideas and strategies. And as he mentioned, there are going to be subsequent videos that are going to look at some of those specific tools and how we might seek to use those. So thanks.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Andrew.